It was such a wonderful theme. It's 10 days, so it doesn't put all the pressure on everyone to to do everything in one day. So you could possibly do one or two events, in any time of these 10 days, or you could do several events if you are really well organized, local or party. And we encourage you to do as many events as you can. Ecoaction Committee, Mark is going to tell you what we've been doing very recently. But we are a standing committee of the GPUS. What that means is I call them working committees. So basically our mission is to organize Greens for local and national events and drives to protect and promote ecological wisdom and sustainability. And what better a campaign than Earth Day to May Day. And it's so wonderful to have Jill here, who was a fantastic facilitator on those calls and really convinced me to support her in her 2016 run. So, yeah, 50 years since Earth Day. We can still say it's been 50 years, half a century. And I'm going to turn the mic back over to Mark, and he's going to tell you some of the recent things that we've been doing with Ecoaction Committee.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. I just very quickly on sort of the mission. Ecoaction Committee is to obviously help develop the work of the National Green Party around ecological issues. We help develop positions and policy statements and can make proposals to the National Platform Committee, which I understand right now is under its annual revision process. We also really try to help candidates who are running, Green Party candidates across the country, to give them information they can use during their campaign, sample literature, press releases. And so if you are a candidate, we do want to be in touch with you and see how we can help you. And we also help endorse marches and demonstrations and other actions that fulfill us, our mission on ecology. So I'm briefly going to go over some of the things we've agreed to. We set up 3 working committees so far. The Eco-Socialist Green New Deal, which I sort of help coordinate. I'll talk mainly about Mary Saunders. We just had our first meeting, I guess, a week or 2 ago about the Education Committee. And we also have a Communications Committee we're working to get off the ground. One of the things we did decide to do with the Green New Deal Committee, Eco-Socialist Committee, was to support some of the efforts going around to push President Biden around climate change, obviously to try to move him closer to the type of Green New Deal vision that we have as opposed to what the Democrats have. And we joined something called the Climate President, which really was trying to get the president to make a number of executive orders around climate. He, in fact, has considerable authority to do so. And given a very continued divided Congress, it didn't really seem very likely that major climate policy would occur. The president did make some steps in the right direction. Certainly did not go far enough. On February 10th, we joined with the Buildback Fossil Free campaign, which is trying to get the president and Congress, when they do this economic stimulus, which they're supposed to do in a couple of weeks, somewhere between $2 to $3 trillion on a sort of a green infrastructure, that in fact it is more reflective of what our vision is of an eco-socialist Green New Deal. One big difference, of course, between the Democrats and the Greens is that the Democrats tend to be pretty weak on actually calling for a halt to new fossil fuels, banning fracking, stopping more gas pipelines, and trying to get some type of short-term schedule on how to phase out the existing use of fossil fuels. We have called, 100% clean energy, renewable energy for all sectors, not just electricity, by 2030. The president did issue an executive order to try to go to 100% renewable energy just for electricity, and I assume that includes nuclear, unfortunately, by 2035. So that's at least, sort of a step up. We did do So for their week of action, we did a forum around what our vision of Ecosocialist Green New Deal. We had some of our Green Party activist members from Florida talk about some of the work they've been doing, particularly to support some of the indigenous Native American communities down there trying to preserve their land. We had Howie Hawkins come on and talk about some of the things he talked about in the Green New Deal during the recent presidential campaign. And we also developed some press releases for the national party. One in particular we issued about 2 weeks ago, calling for a $4 trillion a year, 10-year commitment to build out the Green New Deal. That's considerably higher than what President Biden or Chuck Schumer's talking about. Tends to be more in the $2 to $3 billion range. I did see that the Center for Biological Diversity is circulating a sign-on letter right now, calling for $4 trillion a year for 4 years, so 16 years, and seems much more in line in terms of what our Green New Deal has been. And I will say, you know, particularly Senator Schumer, you know, he talks a lot about the Thrive agenda, and you can look at THRIVE agenda.org. It lays it out. It states a lot of good principles, but it doesn't really have many specifics. And what the Democrats are going to look at is putting more money on the table to do job creation. They're not going to do much opposing fossil fuels. And it's good that they call for this. Let's give 40% of, you know, climate funding to benefit disadvantaged communities. Certainly, we support that goal. But as we've seen in New York State, it's kind of a smokescreen, because their concept of what 40% of funding is probably closer to really 1 to 2 or 3% of funding, not 40% of funding. So we would have to, you know, sort of push that. So that's a real sort of quick summary. And let me find Mary Sanders. I believe she's from Connecticut. And Mary, we're going to make you a co-host. So then, Mary, you could talk a little bit about the Education Committee.
Have it charging. Okay. So we only had one meeting. We got off to a little slow start trying to recruit members, but ended up with 5 people from different states with a variety of skills and interests. And so we just met the other day and kind of hashed out our goals. So hopefully by the time we have our next meeting, we'll have much more to report back. I know Maureen took the notes. If she wants to jump in and just maybe just go over the goals, I don't have them in front of me. But if Maureen is available, she offered to take the notes that day. So we're going to be kind of sharing the leadership, even though I pulled the list together and got the first meeting coordinated. But there is a lot of talent there, and I'm looking forward to all the work we'll be able to accomplish. If other people want to join, we will be meeting right now on Tuesday afternoons and maybe Saturday afternoon if people are not available during the work week. So there's some flexibility there because we want to provide as many opportunities as possible for participation. So if Maureen's there, maybe she can jump in.
Yep.
Yeah, Maureen, I did unmute you if you wanted to say any additional thing.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. Okay. Yeah, I'll just try to summarize the minutes that I took. We talked about areas of education, like who are we trying to educate? Is it going to be K through 12 people? Is it going to be Green Party members? Is it going to be the general public? And we wanted to get information out to candidates. So we're working on getting a list of green candidates. And if anybody has any information on that, you can share it with me, because I've met a roadblock. We talked about talking at different career days, like for kids. I mean, obviously during COVID-19, we can't do it, but in regular times, about different environmental areas, you know, the mainstream like recycling, composting, gardening, things like that, or bigger things. So I'm just trying to summarize from my notes. So, but we did have a very enthusiastic group, and we got a lot of comments.
Okay.
So,
Well, thank you, Maureen. And, you know, I reposted a thing that Michael had posted earlier in the chat about forms you can fill out. So, you know, if you're interested in joining one of the committees, and we have a third committee on communication that's going to be going. But at this point, I guess we'll turn it back to Tony, and you can explain how we're doing the open house.
Great. I'm going to share the screen again. Hope I got the right one. All right. Went back to the first. So, so essentially, this open house is to get more folks involved in the Ecoaction Committee, but also a good segue into doing that, because you do have to be appointed by a state party to be an official voting member. But what we're going to do is we're going to onboard. We're going to invite everyone who has replied that they're interested in doing an event in their area, and onboard them onto a collaboration software where it's either going to be Slack or another similar software in the next couple of days. We've been trying to get enough signups to get that going, and now we have plenty of signups, so this is great. So thank you for making it here, and our collaboration on this event will help you to decide if you want to become an Ecoaction Committee member, or if you just want to support us and to be a resource for our committee. There's other ways that we're going to make that possible for you, as either as an observer, or we could use this, you know, Slack or something to communicate with folks in an ongoing manner. So I'm going to make a segue actually to Jill, who has joined us, and just wanted to go back to the history of Earth Day to May Day. So there was a global climate convergence, as Mark said, back in 2014. It was a wonderful event. And there are actually a lot of events. I actually co-organized 2 events, and we didn't even get all the information back to probably even to the organizers, because we were so busy doing these events. But we had a Duke Energy, they had a shareholder meeting protest there. This is right after the huge coal ash bill that made national news back in 2014. And we had the co-organizers of that event agreed to this being part of this global climate convergence. We also had some Bank of America actions and some other actions. So that's kind of the origin of this. Of course, there was this huge climate march in New York, hundreds of thousands of folks. And this was just a wonderful 10 days of actions. And I would love it if we can return to that spirit. As we said, we can't exactly organize huge events, sometimes even legally, but we can do some really great actions. I'm not going to go over all of these right now, but there's some examples of what you could do. Now, direct actions or outdoor actions, actually I have a checklist that I'm going to send to everyone, and I'm going to ask for some more ideas of what to add to it. But it's a pretty thorough checklist, and we're going to make this part of an action kit that we'll be sending out to folks this week. But direct actions are certainly what we want to encourage some folks to do. Some of them can include like light brigades, projection actions, and we actually have Bill Moyer, who is with the Backbone campaign and has done some amazing, I've been collaborating with him since the big Bank of America protests during Occupy. he hopefully will be able to give a couple of minutes when we're talking about like what we can do for Earth Day to May Day actions. But essentially what we're doing is these are largely decentralized, meaning that, we're not going to tell you exactly what to do, but we're coordinated. So it's a decentralized but coordinated 10 days of events. Now, political theater, sidewalk marches, and flyering. The important thing is that we're getting out. We're not just like doing an action, but we're trying to communicate like how important this juncture is in the history of the world, because we right now have the capabilities to feed and provide for all of humankind and keep the world together. And we also have the capabilities of self-destruction. And this has never been before that we've had both of those capabilities, and which way are we going to go? Which path are we going to take? So this is pretty serious stuff. And it's really important to reach out to communities on issues that will connect with them, like what is something that will connect with their lives, and to help them to get involved. You can also do a webinar or a teaching event. You can use Zoom. I know some other folks have other things like Jitsi that they can use. Blue Jeans is another one. So if you don't want to use Zoom, there are some other options, and we can help you. Like if you stay in touch with us, you sign up, we will have people. In fact, some of you, I'm going to ask if you can sign up in a few minutes to help with coordination, meaning that if you're an experienced organizer, you can help get in touch with folks who have signed up and said, I really want to do an event, but then getting from point A to to M or N might be a difficulty. Once they get on that track, you usually are doing good. And we'll also have some checklists for things to make your webinar as successful as possible. Also, you could do lobbying and campaign events, especially if you're a candidate. You can combine a direct action or something like that with a campaign event as well. So that could be just another way to look outside of the box. We had some, people who organized marches for Bernie actually eventually organized marches for Jill in 2016. So this is we could have something where it doesn't have to be a huge march, but it could be a sidewalk event or something like that. And if you have a candidate that you're trying to promote or trying to get their campaign going, that'd be a perfect event to have them, but to also have some other things, some other issues in your community addressed. So we're not going to say exactly what to do, but the theme of this is 10 days that we are going to be specifically focusing on ecological chaos, addressing those issues, as well as addressing economic justice and inequality, global inequality. So these are the things that we're going to be focusing on. Of course, war relates to all of those things, so we can have actions related to those as well. So I'm gonna stop right now, and I think our next speaker is Jill. So I think this is a perfect introduction to Jill, because I just wanted to thank you, Jill, for getting the Earth Day to May Day action started. And I just wanted to let you know how many folks were involved in this. You might not have even heard from all of us, but this was a wonderful event, and hopefully we will be getting back to that in the next upcoming years.
Jill, just before Jill speaks, I want to jump in. I made a mistake in that I have now made Jill the host of this whole event rather than co-host. So Jill, when you're finished speaking, if you could make me the host again, that would be quite helpful. Thank you.
Okay, great. I may need some coaching on how to do that, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But yeah, first I just want to give a huge shout out and a thank you to the Ecoaction Committee and everybody who's here tonight, and especially to Tony and to Mark and to Bill Moyer and several other people. I won't name everybody, but I see a lot of the people in the Zoom group in this gathering tonight who were really the lifeblood of Earth Day to May Day, which we also call the global climate convergence. And, I think it was such a wonderful community effort. And it was just, to my mind, it's really kind of what the Green Party is about. It's really about local action, which is also global in its, in its meaning and in its significance. And it was so exciting to see this outpouring of action around the Earth Day to May Day. And it was as if, we just found a framework that enabled people to lift each other up, and people were just joining from all over the place. And I have no idea exactly how word spread, but it was as if people were looking for a way to bring us together. And, that was sort of the theme, that it was Earth Day to May Day, 10 days to change course was one of the themes that we had, that this is about the whole spectrum of justice, from environmental justice through economic and workers' justice and everything in between. And in the same way that Earth Day helped bring together lots of environmental justice causes related to environmental racism and food justice and water and toxics, and so many things came together in Earth Day. And around May Day, the original May Day brought together all kinds of worker struggles, focused especially around the 8-hour workday and the 40-hour work week, but a whole lot of stuff around that. And each of these were kind of springboards for much bigger struggles. And I think today we are experiencing how much we need to bring them together. And in the absence of a more unified grassroots movement for justice and democracy, in the absence of that, we are divided and conquered. And in so many ways, I think we are feeling the heat now. And as much as we felt it in 2014, at the time that this was getting off the ground, it's so much more intense right now, and wealth and power are so much more concentrated, and the abuses of that power across the spectrum of justice and democracy and peace, we're sort of, it's kind of like the existential moment now for everything. And at the same time, we're seeing how our usual tools for struggle, especially political struggles, are being compromised, between censorship, between the assault on our rights to free speech and to protest and for political association, in this kind of new era of McCarthyism, which goes along with the new Cold War that we're in. It so begs for grassroots movements to be energized and to be reconnected. And, just from my own perspective, for people to know, the reason I'm not here more doing this is because I'm kind of bearing the brunt right now of this new McCarthyism and what's been first a 3-year attack by the Senate Intelligence Committee on me and the remnants of my campaign committee, and now it's coming from the Federal Election Commission. So I'm sort of in the target hairs and running as fast as I can to deal with this assault on our rights to political choice and our rights to political expression and activism outside of the parties of war and Wall Street. So that's why I'm not more on the front lines of this struggle. But if I had my druthers, that's what I would be doing. And when I can extricate myself from this nonsense, this is what I'll be coming back to, because I think, more than ever, this is the time for us to be energizing grassroots action where we really have our greatest strength. And this framework of Earth Day to May Day is just a wonderful way to enable us to collaborate across the boundaries, across fronts of struggle, and actually across national boundaries as well. Because, this is going on with the farmers, in India who, have really the biggest strike in the history of the planet that's going on right now around farming justice and you know, the rights of food security and food independence. That's being fought there. You know, all these fights, the fights around water. You know, these we're in an incredible moment of struggle right now, and it is very much global. And in the work that we did around this, which included attending actually two of the climate summits, one in Peru and one in Paris too, there was enormous interest in this kind of framework. And I should add also that the idea here was to build capacity for a climate strike, which would not only be about climate, but about essentially people, planet, and peace, all those struggles which are intensified by climate. The climate crisis, you know, really deepens and makes much more urgent all of our struggles around workers' rights and immigrant rights and you know, the struggle against racism and LGBTQ and women's struggles and so on. They're all intensified by the climate crisis, from which there is absolutely no retreat. So it's all, you know, kind of coming to a head right now. And it's just such a timely moment for us to return to this front of struggle, perhaps with the, you know, with the shared goal as well of developing capacity for a global strike, which I think many of us feel is essential if we're ever going to really accomplish profound change. It's an indispensable tool for real social change and progress. And when we began Earth Day to May Day, it was intended to be the beginning of of developing the capacity to strike. And it might just be on one day, but that these 10 days would allow us, repeating this on a yearly basis, they would allow us to begin capacity to start doing that. And I just want to mention that the website we used to organize this is still up. It's called globalclimateconvergence.org. And it's full of examples of what we were doing and some of the resources that we were using to help empower people and to flesh out, for example, the background of Earth Day and the background of May Day. Some of the language that we used, we talked about an education and direct action campaign on behalf of people, planet, and peace over profit, and that it provides collaboration across fronts of struggle and national borders in order to harness the transformative power that we actually have if we can manage to kind of align our struggles, which are inherently aligned and are inherently interdependent, because we cannot really achieve any one of these aims without also achieving the others. So they are very much connected. So the idea is that this provides us a way to do that in the face of the accelerating climate disaster. Oh, and also the thinking was that with this strike, the idea was eventually to be able to bring to a grinding halt the engines of economic and ecological destruction that we see, you know, going full bore around us all the time. And in these 10 days, we would be lifting up creative community alternatives. And that's everything from boycotts and non-participation in the fossil fuel, corporate militarized economy, as well as civil disobedience and work stoppages and school walkouts. It was all of those things, but it's also, you know, and it was like dealer's choice, you know, go where your comfort zone is and do what you can do. For some people, it's really protesting against these grinding engines of destruction. But for other people, it's about lifting up and showcasing what those alternatives are. Everything from urban farms to credit unions, solar installations, publicly owned utilities, worker and community cooperatives, participatory budgeting, public banking, and so on. You know, it's the whole spectrum of solutions that we're all working on in so many ways in our communities. And fundamentally, we're calling for solutions that are as big as the crisis that's barreling down on us. And eventually that means, and we actually began to articulate this in our flyers and our materials, that we were calling for an emergency green economic transformation through a global Green New Deal that includes universal living wage jobs, healthcare, education, economic human rights, and so on, as well as demilitarization, political democracy, and an end to fossil fuel use, ideally by 2030. So, the idea is,
Jill, we gotta wrap up.
and I'll just say, the idea is, let's synchronize our clocks across movements, build our connections, and this provides a framework for that. So I really urge people, if you can, to get involved with the Ecoaction Committee and make some stuff happen in your communities as a first step and to get this started. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you very much, Jill. We're going to have Michael O'Neill call you to figure out this host thing.
Great.
So
Okay.
please do not leave the meeting until you've talked to Michael, because that might disconnect it. So we're going to start the open house in about 2 minutes. Tony, I think, is going to moderate, and I'll help him in terms of trying to identify who's on stack. Real quickly, a couple of things already going on. The Global Greens, which is sort of the international federation, perhaps, of the various green parties across the planet, are working on COP26, which is going to take place in Glasgow. It's another climate summit, November 1st to 8th or something. And one of the things we're doing, we're going to kick it off with a forum probably the weekend before Earth Day. And we're going to have some of the Greens, who are actually environmental ministers for their countries, participate in this forum. And we're particularly targeting President Biden, because on Earth Day, he's invited 40 international leaders of the various countries to come to DC to work on the issue of climate change. He is expected at that to finally state what the United States concretely will do around climate change. Particularly, groups have been pushing him to call for at least a 50% cut in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030, groups being the mainstream groups. People like us want a much more ambitious agenda. He's probably doing less with that, but we wanted to do that event before Earth Day to sort of help kick that off. 2 events that I'm going to help organize, besides working here in the Capital District, both are our local labor group, Capital District, New York, both are our labor group around May Day. We're probably going to do a protest at our local congressman's office, Paul Tonko, who's the sort of ranking person now on climate in the House. He's pretty moderate. And I'm also organizing 2 forums, one with the Peace Action Committee of the Green Party. We're working out the details, but that's going to be the in the war machine, basically identifying the connection between the military and climate, and then a second one on the dangers of nuclear power, why nuclear power is not the solution to climate change. So Tony, lead us on the open house.
Hey. Well, I mean, we've begun with the open house, so that's a good thing. Yeah, those sound like great events, Mark. So one of the things we're hoping to do, and you can also ask any questions, as long as they're not super long, about the Ecoaction Committee during this open house Q&A. But what we're hoping to do is to get folks towards committing to specific events. Now, you may not be at that point at all right now, but what we're trying to do is to be here to help to answer you some answer any questions that you might have off the top of your head, or also to give you some ideas. And for example, in North Carolina, we're going to have some events. We haven't solidified it yet, but it's definitely going to involve some door-to-door work, not necessarily door knocking because of the pandemic. But there's 2 communities, Mooresville and Huntersville in North Carolina, that have been experiencing cancer clusters, and they are near both the coal ash deposit from Duke Energy, as well as a lot of people don't know that McGuire Nuclear Power Plant is on Lake Norman, which is a major, it's a man-made lake, but major lake in North Carolina. And a lot of people live in that area, as well as students as well. And so we're gonna do some work around that. And we also have a candidate for city council in Raleigh, and he's gonna do a housing justice event and probably also tie that into economic justice. So there's lots of things that you could do, so
Okay.
those are just two examples. We're really happy to have Bill Moyer here,
Right.
and he might chime in because he's a direct action expert. Like, I've done a lot of direct action. He is someone I really look up to. So hopefully he'll be able to talk to y'all about
Right.
Backbone.
Tony, I'm going to jump in quickly. We've had two people who had their hands up for a while. So we have Patrick Dacre, and I've unmuted Patrick, and then Bud McAllister, and then maybe we can go to Bill after Bud. Because they're limited time, we're hoping for about 2 to 3 minutes each. So Patrick, you're up first.
Okay, good. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We've developed an online referendum on environmental rights that we're running from Earth Day to May Day. I sent a link to Michael and to Tony to take a look at it. The demonstration. It's a way of getting people to vote off schedule on the Green New Deal online referendum. You guys ought to take a serious look at it because we are flying around the world with it.
Okay, Bud.
All right, thank you so much. It's good to see all of you. Jill, I've been looking forward to meeting you. I missed you when you were here in Connecticut. I helped get Rana Steller and Peter elected to the state chairs. Really quick, this normally takes me like a half an hour. You got me limited to 3 minutes. A couple of things that I'm going to ask you to take a deep breath because they're real edgy. My mother was the only woman in the drafting department at Electric Boat where they built nuclear power submarines when I was growing up. So I am a product of this environment. Dominion, about 2 years ago, was actually named as a green energy provider in the state of Connecticut. That actually is going to help us get them shut down. I'm partnering with Sleeping Giant Energy out of Hamden, where we're doing geothermal and solar microgrids, and we're going to be partnering with Dominion. Nuclear is the most heavily subsidized out of any form of energy. And I'm hoping that we can shift those subsidies from nuclear to geothermal. And as of 2 days ago, there's a new geothermal initiative from the Department of Energy, which I think is going to help that. The other piece is I formed a charitable organization. It's a fairly new type of organization in Connecticut where there's no reporting, there's no fees. And I can raise money for nonprofits. I can also raise money for political organizations. We are going to create, I'm working with Common Goods. I'm going to put a link to that in the chat. Common Good Finance are out of Greenfield, Mass, and they're up and running in Greenfield and Ann Arbor, Michigan. We're going to open up a local branch here. And it's really pretty amazing. We gave our first 10 $1,250 grants. We do microloans from $500 to $1,000. But the best part, there's an escrow account. So I work with Fiddlehead's Food Co-op, and every time you buy something there, 5% is going to go into an escrow account, and the members decide.
If you could wrap up in 30 seconds, I'm sorry.
Yep. So the members decide how that money's spent. So it can be community gardens, it can be solar panels, it can be healthcare. Thank you very much. I look forward to working with you.
Thank you. That's great. I saw someone raise their hand. Also, if you are on the phone, which I don't think we have anyone, but if you are on the phone or joined us on the phone, you can dial *9. I believe that will raise the hand for you. It'll show it to us. You won't see it obviously on the phone. But do you want me to introduce Bill, or do we have someone else on
No,
chat?
let's do Bill, and after Bill, Catherine Tomasello.
Okay, great. Bill, are you still here?
Yeah, I am.
Awesome.
Let's see, you can see me, I can hear, you can hear me, but, and can we share my screen? That would be the next thing. Could somebody
Yeah,
make
we
me a
got to make
co-host?
you a
Is it- yeah?
someone
right.
needs to make you a co-host.
Yeah, cool.
I'll handle that.
Cool, thanks. Well, I just want to say, first of all, thank you, Tony, for reaching out. I really appreciate it. It's an honor. It's nice to be reminded of our good work in North Carolina and Charlotte for the blockading that intersection, taking over the middle of the town. That was crazy. That was amazing. Like 4 marches coming from 4 directions, and just it was very interesting tactical like scouting for that. I'll tell you, the planning was really intense. So it's good to see you and be in touch. You know, I think it's also really cool that you know, the Green Party continues to be out there shifting culture, because, you know, I think what the right gets and sometimes the left misses is that shifting policy follows shifting culture. So, you know, it's important work that we can do no matter what, whether we're in supposedly having access or not to quote unquote power. All right, so I'm going to share a screen of just a few ideas. I'm going to hit, I got some stuff in the chat, but I'm going to share a screen. Boom, boom. Hopefully this will all show up fine. And when I hopefully play this, it'll like show you. Does it say, do you see a good tact is one your people enjoy? Is that what
Yes.
you see on your screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh,
Mhm.
good. All right, good. That's a thing from Solinsky. All right, and then, so one of the things that Backbone Campaign's expertise is in is, you know, in high visibility, low risk tactics that you can do with a few people, which also then makes them sort of COVID safe, not sort of COVID safe. They can be COVID safe if you do them properly, but things like using stage lights for doing these sort of large scale projections, where you can rent that gear at a local stage light or theaters supply shop, and we can help you get the metal stencils together to do your stuff. You'll also see in this down in at the bottom right, this is out in front of the DNC. It's that those are LED, flexible LED panels that Backbone Campaign manufactures to then send out and start with a checkout system. This is just for fun.
Bill, I don't know if we're
Yeah.
seeing the different slide. I don't know if you have to go through them. We can't. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, are you seeing? Yeah, that's
Yeah, we
cool.
see
I
that now.
appreciate
Green New Deal. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna make sure I do this again. I'm trying to do this again. Okay. All right. Maybe I won't try to play it, the thing, but do you see the big ass up in the air and the quote? Okay.
Yeah.
And then you see the projection in Green New Deal. And then here's our LED stuff in front of the DNC. This is in LA, Sunrise Movement. This is just for fun in DC. We also have banner toolkits, backbonecampaign.org/banners. Show you, you know, instructions and how to order a toolkit with the materials. But a few people can do this and it be safely distanced and I reach thousands of people in a short amount of time. That says no U.S. Gestapo in our cities, abolish Homeland Security. Again, we're using the LED panels, flexible panels here, plus the other tactical tool. This is just last week out at the long in Minnesota with the Line 3 fight. We've got both our organizer Jacob Johns was out there and they did a TP poles plus then the LED plus an inflatable pipeline. You can kind of barely see in that shot, see it a little better here. It's just something that's easy to deploy. We've got a couple of those pipelines. We can ship them to people. We check the images out. Here's something we did with kayaks there's actually a park right across from the Pentagon with a whole lagoon there. And we went in with kayaks. We used similar tactics. Again, we've done a lot of kayaktivism trainings. We did the kayaktivism trainings for the Shell No campaign. But so you can lift banners from kayaks with proper training and such. But there's also tools like their inflatable earth ball. That's the kind of stuff you can check out from Backbone campaign. We have some online training videos, crazy stuff. If people have boats, like a motorboat, you can pull a banner behind a boat with a kite. There's lots of stuff that you can do that's creative and helps you be visible and bring our values out into society. Some of the stuff is super hard to do like this. This is pretty complicated, but it's just an example of the level of production that we can do when we all work together. So I'm going to end with that and stop the share and say thank you for the time. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Awesome. And thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to see if I can.
The only other thing I would add, just since we're here and you and I have spoken about it earlier, is this idea of, at some point, I'd love to connect with you all about the importance of railroads. We are doing this project, and I put a link in the chat before around solutionary rail. And I do feel like the progressives need to have we deserve to have a deeper understanding of railroads and the way they play, the role they play in the society, and the potential role for a Green New Deal as part of a green infrastructure. All right, check. Thanks a lot.
I just wanted to show off. Didn't you create that debt ball?
Yeah, we did. I was, I can go find a photo. I'll go find a photo. Yeah, there it is in the background. Yeah. Yeah. I can't tell you, man, marching that across the train tracks right in time. We had to have it ready for when the train, when the light rail went by, without getting shut down by the cops, and then move it into the street where they had to let us come in. And it was crazy. It was good.
Great. And the thing to remember is that, even if folks do like a regular light show or something, that could be easier to do in 3 or 4 weeks. But these are ideas that we can start. We have a long summer coming up, and if it's anything like last summer, people are going to be resisting all of the things that are happening to us. It's not going to go away. So thank you so much, Bill, and please stick around and answer any questions just for a few more minutes. Does anyone have any questions?
Well, Catherine was next on the chat.
Okay, great. Well, I see. Email me.
Let me unmute Catherine. I'm sorry. You're unmuted, Catherine.
Great. Can everyone hear me?
Uh-huh.
Okay, fantastic. My name is Kate Tomasello. I live in Western New York with my family. I'm a Green Party member and candidate running in the 2022 midterm elections against Senator Chuck Schumer in the state of New York. And one of the things that I really want to shed light on is this project Vesta that some of you may have heard of, others may not have. And for people who haven't, it's basically a project that people are starting to invest in that uses a natural process that has existed on this planet for billions of years, where the tidal energy is harnessed in order to churn stones called olivate at the shoreline. And basically what this process does is it extracts carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases from the atmosphere, oceans, and water. And it's projected that according to the study that was done for this project, it was stated that if we got olivate, this green stone, onto 2% of the Earth's coastal lines, we could, within 5 years, revert the concentration of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere and water back to industrial levels before 2030. And in essence, start the process of cleaning up the mess that we made after we started burning coal. Now, I'm not certain if it's going to work, but it seems to have good scientific peer-reviewed backing, which suggests that it could potentially be a game changer in regards to climate change. If it does work, then we could see a paradigm shift in the way that we address the climate emergency, which would give us more time to not only stop burning fossil fuels, but in essence, help heal the earth. Now, right now, the project is only receiving small dollar donations from anybody who hears about it. I encourage you all to look into it and become more educated on the subject. But if I am elected to the United States Senate, one of the things that I'm going to propose amending to the Green New Deal is federal backing to Project Vesta, so that it doesn't just happen here in the United States, where it covers 2% of our beaches, but 2% of the beaches all over the world. It's going to take a collaboration of countries all over the earth. But if it does work, it could buy us the time that we need in order to save the planet for our children and stop the concentration of greenhouse gas emissions in their tracks. If it works, the United States and other countries who use this technique could potentially become carbon negative, where they absorb more carbon out of the air than they produce. And it would be to an extent where we reduce the amount of CO2 in our atmosphere back down to 225 parts per million. And if we can do that, it could solve the acidification of the oceans, it could solve air pollution, it could solve a lot of things and allow the earth time to heal, so that way we can get back on track. And I think it's a worthy project that we absolutely should be paying attention to. I'm just going to leave it at that. And thanks so much for letting me speak. I appreciate it.
Tony, you're muted again.
No, I just couldn't get back to I was looking this up and I couldn't get back to the Zoom. Yeah, so anyone else have a question? Any other question? Don't be shy.
I see Frank has his hand up.
Okay.
Let me unmute Frank. Frank, you're unmuted. But we don't hear you.
What's Frank's last name?
Jeffers. Frank, do you have a microphone?
Let's move. Well, maybe we can move on to someone and get back to Frank.
Okay.
Any other questions about what kind of actions are possible? I don't know if I spent enough time on it, but I was talking about lobbying events. So some of you may decide it's still not quite safe enough, or you don't want to take on that extra all of the extra issues that come with organizing outdoor events, and you may want to do something like a lobbying event. Those are great as well. So the important thing is that we're getting the message out. So it's out. It's not just like just getting folks in our local involved. We're trying to get the public involved. So maybe there's ways that we could do that. And maybe you could combine different things. You could have like a table or something like that. One great idea would be, especially for young folks on campuses, even if you're not a student anymore, to have like an alternative Earth Day fair, have 1 or 2, 3, maybe not more than that, but like a few organizations that are really more anti-corporate. So maybe you could have Sunrise Movement folks, or some that could be local collectives, radical collectives, what have you, that could just do like a sort of well spaced out thing. We could have some tables and art, something that wouldn't require a tremendous amount of funding or time to put together, but would be able to get the information out there, which is what we're trying to do. Any other?
Well, Tony, this is
Patrick?
Mark. I'll mention that
Mhm.
the Green Party of New York is doing an Earth Day Lobby Day. We're actually doing it on Friday, April 16th. We did one about 2 weeks ago. It's actually pretty easy to do. Legislators, at least in New York, are used now to doing legislative meetings by Zoom. One advantage is you don't have to drive in from Buffalo or New York City to Albany for the lobby day. And, we concentrated on the committee chairs for the first set of the lobby days. The second set, we'll do in a little bit more rank and file, type of members. So that's one of the things we're doing. And we've also had some discussions about maybe doing a national call-in related to Biden's Earth Day summit, and to try to push him to take a more aggressive stance than he is likely to announce. Basically, under the Paris Climate Accords, which of course were not great, each of the states are supposed to, each of the countries is supposed to sort of assess where they're at. United States has not done that because of Trump. So that's one of the things that apparently Biden's going to do on April 22nd. And so maybe a few days beforehand, trying to push him in a little bit more positive direction. So we're at the point about trying to wrap up. If people want to fill out a form,
Well-
we put that in the Zoom, Tony. How do people volunteer at this point? Either with their own event or to help with the National Ecoaction Committee.
Great. So what we're going to talk about is what are the next steps, right? So we have this website on our gp.org, and there's two different. So it's Earth Day to May Day, but you can also do gp.org Earth Day Action, which is easier to remember. So I'm going to go to
Lizzie just put a lot of those dates in there. We can do it again.
Okay, so as you can see, we have some meetings. We have a meeting in a week, and one thing I'd like to know is if we want to keep it with 6 p.m. Eastern time, we could do it a little bit earlier if folks wanted to move it to maybe like 3 p.m. Eastern time. That'd make it like 12 p.m. Western time. I do know that that's Easter weekend. I don't know if that would affect a whole lot of folks because we're not traveling a whole lot in general, but it's the day before Easter, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but so we are going to have a meeting in a week. Y'all can actually feel free to let us know. We'll keep it at 6 p.m. Eastern unless we get some input. So you can put input in the chat function and say, no, I'd rather 3 p.m. Eastern, or whatever time it is in your time zone. But we will have like another event that we will have a sign up for on this page, and we will also contact you. Please, everyone, if you haven't filled this out, we do have a lot of reactions now. Definitely fill out something, even if you're not sure what you're going to do yet. You can fill out this form as well, and this is for organizing events. However, we do have another sign-up form that has been passed around, and that's for more like overall coordination of events. And I'm going to share that real quick. I know y'all have seen it, but
and while Tony pulls out, one thing I also was mentioned, obviously we can do events in collaboration with other local groups. So, pay attention to any other Earth Day to May Day activities maybe going on in your community or state, and call them up and say, hey, I'm with the Green Party and we'd be interested in being a partner on it. We want our name attached to it, but you know, we can work in collaboration as long as we agree with the general, you know, demands of the particular event. As I said, in the Capital District, a local labor solidarity committee does an annual or May Day event, and they've always been very open to the Green Party participate in. So we're gonna, you know, co-sponsor that event with them.
Okay,
And
I'm
our
gonna-
local 350 affiliate's gonna
I'll
join
move those
us
out the way.
and
So,
feed it. Okay.
yeah, well, I guess if you if you click onto this file, you'll see the emails, the information anyhow. But so don't share this around, basically. But this is for folks who've been in the meetings, not, you know, only share it to someone if you know that they want to help to coordinate with something. But one thing that we definitely need help with is we need folks who will contact people who have signed up. So people who have either come to one of these meetings or registered for one of these meetings, or people who have signed up on the website. So we're anyone who's like left their phone number, we're definitely going to try to contact those folks and see, you know, try to get them to the next step. And our goal is by April 3rd to have most folks with an event and preferably a date, because will only be a couple of weeks out, and that upcoming several days will be really crucial. We might have Buildback to give some, so if any of you want to do any of those events, like we might have Bill give a few pointers with some of the like light brigade kind of actions we can do. That would be really wonderful if any of you would be willing to sign up for those. So you can combine different things like a campaign and a light brigade. That's just a really excellent means of like providing information and also, you know, electorally or legislatively pushing the limit there, which is what we're here for, right? One thing we do need is, and I'm going to be one, but I haven't signed up simply because I don't need to sign up for it, but an event coordinator. So we need people who are willing to like, so we're going to have people calling signups, right? Then we're going to have people who are like who preferably have organizing experience, not professional organizer experience, but like who can like call someone up and say, hey, how's it going? Do you need any help? Need any resources? Did you get this? You know, we're going to have this toolkit with these things that you can like check off just to make sure that you have a really well-prepared event. Is there anything else you need? And are you having any issues or problems? Those folks can then we can coordinate together and make sure that no one has an insurmountable problem outside of like something that's super expensive that we can't help you out with, but we can help you out with a lot of other stuff. So social media, we have a Earth Day to May Day hashtag. We want to get 1 or 2 more to start pushing, you know, the week or 2 before. So that's going to be very important as well.
Tony, I see that Barbara Laxon has a question or a comment or something. I tried to unmute her and something happened. Barbara, you can speak.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't see that you had unmuted me. What I wanted to say was that I'm involved with groups that are working on getting abandoned wells plugged and bringing people's awareness of the fact that every single well drilled has to be replugged for the life of the planet. And you know, people don't understand. They think plugs are permanent. They're supposed to last 20 years. They seldom last more than a couple of years, and they have to be constantly replugged. So that's what I'm working on right now. Did everybody hear me?
I did.
Okay.
Wonderful. I know Steve had a message. Does anyone else? Anyone else on stack? So Steve Hershinsky made a really good point. I don't know if he wants to mention it, but I'm not sure if he, I'm sorry. Okay. I wasn't quite sure what she was referring to, but Steve was saying that we need to have the Green Party information out. Definitely, especially also promote your local. We do have a checklist, so like it's very important to have Green Party on signs. For example, we just did solidarity actions with, I'm not sure how to, if you could take change the spotlight, Mark. I don't know why, or maybe.
I'm
she
sorry,
has-
what do you want me to
Okay.
spotlight?
There you go. It just changed for some reason. But definitely we want to be able to have our name on signs, certainly promote your local and your state party as well. So we had for Amazon, it's the Amazon unionization efforts. We had North Carolina Green Party solidarity with Amazon, and we also had Jeff Bezos makes 13 million an hour. So we had several signs that we had that other folks took as well. So that is very important. Yes.
Yeah, and one thing I'll mention in New York State, when we go to rallies, we make, some nice signs with, key phrases that reflect the day of the event. And so other people may be willing to carry those signs. But then at the bottom of the sign, it also will say Green Party of New York, a Green Party of Brooklyn. And, as long as the message is okay, they seem okay about picking up that sign, if it's a nice looking sign and carrying it. So easy way to increase our presence. Michael O'Neill has been very good about that. And we also put them on, top of those, 2-inch wide, 4-foot high cardboard poles. You're not allowed to use wood poles at demonstrations, but that way it's also easier to hold them up and have them be more visible. And basically what Michael does is sort of, prints out the graphic and then, send around as a PDF so people can, produce it in their own local communities. Maybe we should try to do some of those for the Earth Day to May Day.
So we just have, we're going to wrap up in a minute here. Please post in the chat at the very least if you'd like to help with anything. Also, if you have an idea for an event right now, please post it in the chat. But also we do have these sign up forms. But if for whatever reason you don't get to that, we'll at least have some sort of a record of anyone who's going to be doing any events. And I'm trying to read all of these chats messages. Barbara, did you want to speak really quickly before we?
Yes, most people have no clue. The wells, currently, most of them are the drillers. Once they get what they can out of it, they walk away and leave the wells. They leave the wells, they abandon them. Then the state has to pay to plug them, but it costs thousands of dollars to plug them once, okay? But once means nothing because the wells need to be plugged again and again and again and again and again to the life of the planet. There is no end in sight. There is no end because plugs supposedly last 20 years. They don't. They seldom last more than a couple of years and they need to be plugged again. And there's thousands and thousands of wells that are littering the countryside that nobody knows where they are, that the drillers just walked away and left, and they're leaking oil, they're leaking methane, and nobody does anything about it. We've been going into the national forest because it's public land and we can walk out and we go down all the roads that we can find and we document where these wells are and we contact the DEP and let them know where these wells are. We try to, aggravate them enough to get them plugged and again, as much as we can, but we're just such a tiny little drop in the bucket. And most people have no idea. They think that once you plug a well, that's it, it's done. It's not any such thing.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. And what this could do is if you can find ways to create media to so that you can share this information, or even like take like a simple, like a camera, like video tape what you do and share that with your local or your party. We can forward that on.
Right. One of the things we started to do when Howie Hawkins was running for governor, if you just stand out in front of a building and say, we're here today to protest, Paul Tonko's congressman's position, he's not willing to oppose the halt to all new fossil fuels, and just live stream it 2-3 minutes. And it really gets a lot of coverage.
Nice.
And what we taught Howie to do was to hand his iPhone to somebody at the events, so it would be, uploaded to his particular Facebook thing, rather than trying to have, somebody figure out how to get their own Facebook live stream onto our thing. Of course, if they do upload it to their own Facebook thing, then they can share it, or we can share it to our Facebook page. But
got it. Well, this has been great. We've gone over a whole lot. Jill did such a great job at encapsulating so much of what we're fighting for. Hopefully, we'll have more commitments next week. That's really our goal, is to get out, to contact everyone who's signed up, make sure that we have at least a couple of dozen of events by next week that are happening, and keep on pushing to let other folks know about this, because there may be other people doing events that you can get plugged in with. What we really want to do is to really elevate the Greens. So I think it's important that we do some of our own co-organizing, at least, not just like showing up. Not to say that that's what we do. A lot of us organize, but I think it's very important that we take it to another level. So there might be an event like a labor event that you could maybe bring some donuts, bring some food, bring some something that people don't have to really touch. It could be like, snack bags or something like that, that you can get trail mix, things like that, that we could actually share with folks, participate in things, participate with our resources that are available. So next Saturday's meeting it's going to be a specific planning meeting. So it's going to be a little bit shorter, but we're going to be getting more into the nitty gritty of what are folks planning to do. So we're going to try to get you guys to make some specific planning arrangements this week. So next week's going to be another touch point where we're going to hopefully have at least half of the events that we have people so everyone who's here, hopefully you have an idea of an event and specifically a location or how it's going to go about. So do some research as well. Do some research if there are other events happening, so you don't conflict with those as well. And we do have a checklist for direct actions. Do you have any parting words, Mark? But the big thing is, I'm going to let you have executive decision making as to whether or not we do this at 6 p.m. or 3 p.m. because we haven't heard any one way or another. So you want to do 6 p.m. or 3 p.m.?
Well, 6 p.m. at the moment. So we'll say 6 p.m. But I also just want to remind people,
Okay.
Ecoaction, does have a Facebook page, and so we hope people will like it and follow it, and hopefully to help us try to sort of post content. Ecoaction Committee needs help. Our normal committee meeting is the last Saturday of the month. We have 3 working committees: the Eco-Socialist Green New Deal, the Education Committee, and hopefully Communications Committee. And we want to help Green Party candidates who are running for office, raise, ecological issues. I talk a lot about climate because that's my focus, but, Green Party covers the whole gamut of, environmental issues. And so if you're running in a campaign, you want our assistance. And if you have a local Green Party group and you're involved with the campaign involving ecology, and you think it would be helpful to have, the national party help, promote it and share more information, that's what we're here for. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you. Thank you. Dawn, you want to say anything? All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for making it. We will see you in a week. So come on back with some more ideas and bring some extra folks.
And I want to, as always, thanks Michael O'Neill, our communication director, for helping us
Absolutely.
out with a lot of the background technical stuff that Tony and I are still learning how to do correctly. Thank you.